All right, let's get into some legal tampering. Free agency day one. This is when free agency period starts, and like at 12 o'clock, and then at 12:01, someone signed a deal. And it's like, well, they clearly haven't spoken to each other before that. They just were really able to hammer out all the legalities and the ins and outs of these complicated contracts in 30 seconds. So yeah, tons of tampering. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
James Conner going back to Arizona, like you said, he signed a $7 million deal, something like that, $8 million.
3-year, 21. So
$7 million a year.
Yeah, 13 and a half fully guaranteed, could be up to 25 million with incentives. So a good chunk of change.
That seems about right to me, honestly.
After last year, I mean, he earned that, and it's just from a non-fantasy perspective. What a great story! Obviously everything he's went through in his life. You love to see a guy like that get paid after really earning it, taking that 1-year deal, prove it type of deal, and 18 touchdowns, 1,127 yards from scrimmage last year. I mean, what a beast!
He had a great season.
Third overall in total touchdowns in the NFL among runners or receivers there. Incredible stats there. And, they always say touchdowns are fluky. You don't want to chase touchdowns in fantasy, but you consider this: 8th inside the 20 carries, 41, 3rd inside the 10, 28 carries, and 2nd inside the 5 with 16. You look the year before, Kenyon Drake was 5th inside the 20, 1st inside the 10, and 3rd inside the 5. So it's just a role where, Kyler Murray does get his read options, and he does run in for a lot of touchdowns, but the running backs are also getting a lot of cracks at the stripe. And whereas Drake kind of struggled to convert him, Connor was a monster. He get hit by like 4 people and just carry them into the end zone, and he can't be denied. He is one of the best goal line backs of the NFL. Again, 18 touchdowns, don't lie. Some of those were receiving as well.
I saw him make some nice catches this year.
I mean, he had one of the best one-handed catches I've ever seen. Like, this guy can kind of do it all. Of course, the injury concerns, they've lingered with him throughout his career. He missed 2 games last year, but even still, he put up 18 touchdowns in 14 games. I mean, just insanity.
So it was 15 games because the season's long.
Oh, yeah, right.
But also, I mean, just personally, if I'm talking about an NFL running back that's seeing decent volume, and you're going to tell me he's going to play 15 games, he's going to miss 2, you sign me up.
Oh,
seriously. Exactly. Like, I don't consider that a red flag of any kind. 2 games as a, whatever that comes with the territory. These guys take so much contact every play. You can withstand that and miss 2 games and have a productive season. Like, to me, you're like an Iron Man.
Right, exactly. And so that was like you're saying, I was more encouraged than anything that the fact that he only missed 2 games after we've seen a string of bad injuries. Now, could that rear its ugly head? Yeah, but
sure,
he showed us he could sustain, a pretty monstrous workload like he had back in Pittsburgh. The running back 5, him and his running back coach, we kind of connected these dots early last year. Chase Edmonds was getting all the hype, and I remember being you and Kendall, I remember wrote about this too, one of our best writers. Just like, let's pump the brakes on Edmonds a little bit because Connor's a goal line beast and he might end up getting the touchdowns. Never mind, he ended up taking almost the entire workload alongside that. And just to reiterate again, the Cardinals, 395 targets up for grabs. And I know a lot of those are receiver targets, but it could trickle down easily to James Conner, who made some of the best catches at the running back position last year. So this is a great landing spot. You couldn't have landed better if you're James Conner. I bumped him up to running back, I believe, 14 right now. And the more we talk about it, it feels kind of low.
Seems a little low, right?
He was the running back 8 last year, even missing all those games. So okay, here's some names. Connor, Montgomery, Jones, Zeke, Gibson, Swift. Like,
I definitely like him better than some of those guys.
Right. Maybe Zeke and Jones and Montgomery, should be below Connor.
I kind of think, who are the other guys?
Gibson and Swift as well. I probably have Swift and Gibson, the younger.
I would probably have those guys above Connor, but I mean, if you told me he's going to outscore all those guys, I wouldn't say that was nuts.
He did last year, right? He scored all of them. So he outscored Chubb. I mean, he was a beast. He had an absolutely beastly season, and if anything, his situation's better because Chase Edmonds is gone, who we're about to talk about
let's talk Chase Edmonds, actually.
So if anything, James Conner's walking into a better situation than the one that he just scored 18 touchdowns in. I mean, that's fantasy gold. Right. And again, these early, I keep putting it. I'm not just doing this to promote Underdog. I love him. Code RSJ. He's going in round like 7 or 8 right now. He should be going in round like late 2nd, early 3rd at latest. So I am just gobbling him up as many times as I can right now.
Chase Edmonds, who we just talked about, he just signed a 2-year, $12.6 million deal with the Dolphins. We want to know, is he a high-end running back too? You said Barkley is a $7.2 million hit. This is $6.3 million for Chase Edmonds. makes Barkley seem like a great deal for a year or so. What do you think about this?
Well, I think that's a pretty good indicator that they might view this guy as their number one running back. I mean, you don't give them top 10 running back money to not use him. And I think it's a great situation. As I said, entering free agency, they were number 3 on my list because Mike McDaniel's the run game coordinator for Kyle Shanahan, those 49ers. You don't need to get me all horned up by anything more than just talking about his own running scheme of Kyle Shanahan. Like, that is the most beautiful, picturesque scheme, and this guy was the coordinator of it. So now he comes over to Miami where there's really no competition. Myles Gaskin might be the worst starting running back in the NFL last year. So I think Chase Edmonds, especially if this is all they do at the position, is the immediate number 1 running back here. Great receiver. Saw even in that timeshare with James Conner, saw 20th in the NFL in targets and receptions. So the guy can catch. He can be a 3-down back. In fact, the games that Conner missed, he put up 26.7 and 13.2 PPR fantasy points. So especially that 26-point effort, nothing to sneeze at. The reason he's kind of been a disappointment in fantasy, he doesn't really get the goal line volume, especially when Conner was there. But the games where he started, he scored 3 touchdowns at 26 points. So, I mean, he can get it done in every single facet. I think this offense is certainly under the rise under new coach Mike McDaniel. If Tua is anything decent, and I'm not ready to throw the towel in on Tua yet. Between Waddle, they added Cedric Wilson, we'll talk about. This offense could be sneaky on the rise. And if Edmonds is the main focal point, he deserves to be considered a high-end RB2. So he's bumped up now to my running. It's tricky, though, because then you look at, okay, does he go above Damian Harris, who had a monster year last year? Does he go above, where do some of these rookies land? Does Devin Singletary, if nobody's added for the Bills, does Edmonds go above him? What about Travis Etienne? The first round rookie for the Jags.
I liked him better than Etienne, but I mean, your point is a good one, which is, but I mean, it's the middle of March, right? But I think we'll have a lot more clarity, or as much clarity as one can actually ever have in fantasy football.
Absolutely.
When we get more into July or something like that.
It does go to illustrate running back. I remember when we first started our podcast, there was 2 good running backs in fantasy, and it was all about receivers. There definitely has been an influx of workhorses and there's committees here and there, but there's about 25 solid RB2 running backs right now. Whereas there was a few years where it was maybe 6 names that you'd feel okay with as your running backs.
Right.
Edmonds now enters that pool for me. Depending where all the rookies shake out, he could go anywhere from 20th to 25. But I do really love this spot. I love this scheme. And I really like the player. Again, anytime he's been that starter, we've seen 30-point days. We've seen, again, last year, 26. He's really stepped up when he gets the volume. So I am very intrigued. I think this was a best case for his value, is to escape Connor's shadow, get to a nice situation, and Miami really represents that.